Well, the tendency in our lives is that we play out our needs that were left unmet into the relationships we try to create in the here and now. So, Søren Kierkegaard is a theologian and a philosopher. He says, well, life's meant to be lived forward, but it can only be understood backwards.
Hi, this is Tim Westbrook. Welcome to I Love Being Sober. We talk about life in recovery, mental health, biohacking, alternative therapies, and everything related to living a kick-ass sober life. So let's dig in. Welcome to another episode of I Love Being Sober. Today, I'm honored to sit down with someone who has played a meaningful role in my own recovery journey, my therapist, Ken Wells. Ken is a nationally recognized expert in treating sex addiction, intimacy disorders, compulsive behaviors, and trauma. Over the past few decades, he has helped thousands of individuals, including high-profile figures, celebrities, CEOs, and leaders, rebuild their lives from the inside out. Ken's been sober for 35 years, and he brings not just clinical expertise, but a deep personal understanding of the recovery process. His work helps people reconnect to themselves, break cycles of shame, and regain the capacity for intimacy and authentic relationships. Whether you're struggling with addiction, codependency, trauma, mental health, or are simply committed to your personal growth, today's conversation will give you insight, tools, and hope. Ken, it's truly an honor to have you here on the show.
Hey, thank you. It's great to be here. I'm looking forward to our conversation. I don't know where we're going to go, but we'll find out.
Yeah, we don't know where we're going to go. We'll find out. I have an agenda here, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, I feel good. I feel really strong about the energy in the room. I just can't take time to try to look at each person and share my energy and gather yours. It feels real good. Feels warm. So thank you. Thank you for inviting me to join you. I think of you as an expert, and I am one who just tries to walk alongside folk to help you access your own brilliance. That's all I am. And a lot of times I strike out, but sometimes I hit home run for myself, because if I can connect with your brilliance and you connect with mine, something special always happens. It's just whoever you are, whatever we are, it's in here that heals us. And so that's what I'm excited this morning is I want to experience healing for me, if you don't mind me being a little bit healthy, selfish, and I want to share some healing with you. That's it.
Awesome. That sounds great. I think just I was thinking of one thing. It's people, whenever I listen to someone speak, I'm not necessarily looking to resonate with every single thing that they say.
Sure. Yeah.
But if I find one or two things, that's a home run.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
In my experience, or in my opinion anyways. So yeah, thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
So for those of you who don't know you, can you share a bit about your personal story and what brought you into the world of recovery?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I was a minister for like 25 years, and I've been doing therapy as a therapist for 30 years. I'm a geezer. I'm old, but not that old. There's some overlap. So what happened is I come from a lot of complex trauma in my family. Physical abuse. I have 9 brothers and sisters, and then my mother and dad raised my oldest sister's kids, so they raised 12. In that context, I grew up in what I identify today as a cult, and all of our members, me for sure, and all of our members in my family were impacted with sexual abuse through and around the church. It's a long history of stuff, and there's a lot of physical abuse. I was the youngest boy, so I learned how to get the crap beat out of me. And I wasn't really, I was never a fighter. My older brothers were. I just learned how to absorb it, just take it all in. And so that's what I did. I took a lot in. Well, later, when I was a minister in Denver, in a mega church, I guess you'd call it, whatever, I had a lot of people who, for like a year, I'd say maybe 2 years, time, there were 10 different people who committed suicide. And one person committed suicide over the phone while I was trying to talk him out of it, and he blew his head off. And I went down with his wife to the morgue down in Denver General to identify his body, and the screaming and all. And, so I had that, but there's a kid, it was a part of my youth group, like the college group, and she committed suicide. I've been in Denver General lots of times, and I went in, and the family blamed me for her death because she had left her treatment facility, and somehow they figured I was supposed to make sure that she hadn't left or whatever. And I'd had that before. I mean, I'm kind of a veteran with some of that stuff, but on that one, I kind of shut down. I was with a colleague, and we walked out, and I said, "Man, something's going on inside." Well, what it was, I had slipped into a major clinical depression. And it was a big deal. I mean, like I stopped eating in 6 weeks. I lost 50 pounds. I just wasn't functioning. I just couldn't function at all. And I was pissed. I was really angry. I went out, and tried to, remember, I chuckle not because it's funny. I chuckle because, wow, what am I doing? It's like, there's a place in Denver called Five Points. And, that's not, it's kind of an area you can mix it up and get hurt if you're not careful. So I went down there, and I was driving aimlessly, and I seen what I thought were a group of Crips. I knew, Bloods and Crips, aware of it. And so I thought, I'm going to run my car right at them, and surely they'll pull their gun and shoot me. And I did. And they didn't. They pointed their finger, and I thought, that didn't work. I went out to the airport, back before 9/11, because you can kind of go wherever you wanted. And I tried to walk out into the pathway of an airplane that was backing out, and go have it run. My mind and thinking was it'd run over me. I had two dear friends, probably my best friends I've ever known in my life. I didn't know they were there. They came and they rescued me. About that time, I recognized I needed to get in some help, and so I went into treatment, and I was I was in trouble. I wasn't high on anything. I just stared at a window, a picture window. I stared at a piece of fuzz, the woman said, the nurse, for 8 hours. That's wild to me. I mean, I'm all that. So, but I also had big feelings of rage and anger. So they let me go down to the gym and beat the bag all day till I just dropped, and did that every day. And then one time was a tough day, and they put me in what was a padded cell. I heard about them, but I was in one, and all of the awareness of hurt and pain that I knew in my life, that took place in my family, all that crap that I absorbed just came out, and I just beat the shit out of my Bible. That's all I had. Had a Bible. Turned over to 91st Psalm. It talked about how God protects you and all this. I said, bullshit. I didn't say that because I didn't cuss then. I just said something else, whatever it was. But what I did is I just took my fist and I beat the crap out of my Bible. That very page, I still have that Bible because I have it for that purpose. And I beat it to my knuckles were bloody. And I thought to myself, then it wasn't like like I'm talking to you now. It was like, my God, if God would be okay if I beat this Bible up, then maybe I could figure this out. That's kind of odd thought, not very deep, but in that it's helped me shift my mindset to a point where my wife and I've been married. My wife is Eileen. We've been together for 50 years. And so, we remember saying, well, I had my boys were then like young, like what, 6, 5, and 3. That's what it was. And so, like, I looked at her and she looked at me. I said, I want to hawk my socks, because we had no dough. And when I said no dough, I meant no dough, as we all relate. I said, I'll hawk my socks if I need to, and I want to get healthy. And so that's what we did. That's what I did. I kept my pair of socks, but we sold about whatever we had. But more important, it wasn't as money. It was just like, I found out I was a sex addict in recovery. So this guy named Pat Carnes, who I later worked with and know well, he had these 12-step help on a cassette. But the cassette I got, somebody had already put something else on it. And so I listened to 2 workshops at once. I just pulled off, it bled through, I just pulled off what I needed. And I worked with that. I had a sponsor that guided me into my recovery group. I started 12-step group with the SLAA in Tampa, Florida. And the very first meeting I went to, one of the people I was working at a pretty good sized church then, and one of the people in my church came, and they told me, say, hey, they were there, and it was a woman, and I thought, oh my God, I'm going to be outed, which I probably deserve to be outed. Yeah, I don't not anything special. But we connected afterwards, and she just came up to me and said, "I'll tell you what, if you don't tell on me, I won't tell on you." So I started my recovery like that. I just have been doing 12 steps ever since. And about 1989, I did a special intense workshop with a colleague of mine for many years. Her name is Marilyn Murray. And she then was over in San Diego. I went over and spent a full day with her for a week. And we did nothing but anger work. And I tore up. I think she said, she told me that I destroyed 7 of her tennis rackets. And she said and says to this day, I don't think I think she's over exaggerating, but she said I was the most angry person she's ever treated. And she's treated some angry people. So I don't know if that, I don't consider that something to brag about, but it just is. It's her experience, and that's where I was at that time. And since that time, it's not like I got all of a sudden born again. I'm good. Look at me. I'm wonderful. I'm human. That's what I am. And I learned how to get traction. Uh, and the greatest thing, Tim, that I've ever known about my recovery is that when I drift from center, whether I lapse, and I'm a workaholic, codependent, all these things, sex addict, whatever. So whether I lapse or relapse, lapse to me would be I go back into old familiar victim posture, some of the old stuff where if I rage out or what. Relapse is just that. I'm acting out sexually. But what I've learned is those behaviors are not who I am. Who I am is an unrepeatable miracle of the universe. That's me. That's you. That's everyone here. And I say that because I'm not trying to convert anybody, but I'm just saying it whether you believe it or not, it's true. And what's helped me more than any one thing to become a healing person for myself first and then for others is to embrace that reality. And there's a big difference in believing in what you do. I can do things. I'm really good at some things, not many, but some things. There's a difference in that and believing in who you are. Because I ain't what I do. And if I am what I do, then when I can't do what I do, then I'm not anything. And I got to a place where I couldn't do anything. I remember this time of my depression, deep depression. It's like I couldn't pray. Now, that was for a preacher, that's a big deal. Supposed to pray. I couldn't pray because I was just stuck. So I drew my prayers for a month till I got a voice. But later, Tim, see, I pray now. Like, I'm not particularly religious. I'm very into connection with what's going on inside my guts and inside what happens. And so I pray, but I use prayer. I send positive energy. Like right now, I'm talking to you from my heart. At the same time, I can send positive energy to who you are, even though I don't know you and you don't know me. I call that prayer. That's a meaningful thing. Because otherwise, in the old days, my praying, I had all the phone list. Here's a whole list of people who need to get healed. Here's a whole list of people who are going to hell in the handbasket and they don't know it. I'm supposed to pray for all these people. Went through all my brothers, sisters, all this stuff. It was just a bunch of craziness for me. Now, I'm not saying people who do that are crazy. I was. I know I was. What they were doing is it's up to them. So now prayer flows through me because I believe that there's a source of energy that's healing that brings me back to center every day of my life. And I share that part. I believe in that part. I believe in, whatever you call it, Jesus, God, energy. I relate to it as an energy source around me that matters. Some people identify that as Jesus or God or what. Who knows? I don't really care about the name. It's just the sense that down deep inside me, if I learn to access it, I can heal myself. And accessing it for me, Tim, I learned how to take my depression, for example. I've had depression my entire life. It doesn't dominate me. It just doesn't dominate me. It did. I mean, hell of it didn't. It really did. So what it does now, it becomes a teacher. I even since I think all of this, I think of the of sacred literature as all metaphor, and so I think of that depression as the voice of God talking to me about what's out of sync, what's out of balance in my life, and it tells me that, and then I have a wise mind inside me that needs to make a choice. How am I going to take care of myself? Because if I ignore it, it'll kick my ass. I think that's true. It's true of addiction. It's true of depression. It's true of anxiety. It's true of my OCD thinking. I just can't stop thinking about what I don't want to think. It dominates. Well, so what I ask is, what's it trying to tell me? Listen to it. But sometimes it hurts so bad, I don't want to listen. So I have to really work on just sitting with what's inside. That's hard. Sometimes it's just a few seconds and I want to bail. But I just keep coming back. And that's where my repetition, I draw from my past. Like when we do therapy, I ask people, okay, what do you do in other aspects of your life that you can draw from to help you right where you're at? And I was pretty compulsive about sport. I mean, I got distorted about sport. It's kind of crazy. But I was very, very repetitive, and it took me away from the pain when I was a kid. So I learned how to come back to what's hurtful and sit with it in a healthy way and then let go of it. And then I built up, just like you build up your muscles in the gym, I built up the capacity to sit with discomfort. As I sit with discomfort, two things happened. Insight came in time, and the discomfort began to fall away. Sometimes it took a long time, like maybe months. Sometimes it was days. Sometimes it's just like I had some discomfort this morning, and I just was able to work myself and let go of it and recenter. But so I really think about whatever therapy you're doing here or anywhere. There's all kinds of wonderful modalities. They all helpful. I mean, I'm probably some not helpful, but and particularly if all that's helpful, it's not all helpful to you or me. But a good therapist, a good process can help me sift and sort and figure out what I need to get centered and find healing. So what I think about that is this: it's only helpful if it can bring me back to the present and be right here with you and be right here with me. Because in my mind, this is heaven. It ain't any different. And I said, my God, this is hell right now for me. Don't tell me this is heaven. Yeah, there's a mix. Because sometimes in hell, when I'm in hell, I don't feel heaven. I'd be bullshit myself to think otherwise. But when I'm in hell, if I sit with it long enough, I have the capacity to make heaven just being here with you. And, I grew up thinking that's kind of booga booga talk, But for me, that's been my reality. There isn't any arrival. It's right now. It's it. And my assignment is to sift it out and figure out how to make meaningfulness of why I'm sitting here talking to you and why you are putting up listening to me. You got to figure that out. And I can walk alongside people and help them figure that out. And they can help me figure it out. And I don't have to be your guru, because I ain't anybody's guru except my own. And so my deal is to try to challenge you to be your own guru. Figure it out. And, all this addiction stuff, really all it is for me, it's about how to grow myself up to be the powerful adult that I've always wanted to be. That's it. And I'm good at it and I'm bad at it. And even though I have like 30 plus years of sobriety, yeah, but I can be I can be a pain in the ass. I can have problems. I have, and so I just work with it and accept myself for just being what I am. And that's really hard, I always think about that step 7. Step 7 said, we're trying to ask God to take away my shortcomings. How many times I prayed that one? And I said, either God ain't listening, there ain't no God, or something screwed up here because I still got what I got. But the other thing I think, step 7 was step 3. Step 3 is about understanding how to surrender, how to let go and accept. Well, if I'm not letting go and here's God saying, hey, give it to me. No, I don't want it. I'm going to keep it. Then we got a problem. So if I can practice 7 by practicing 3, which means I'm going to let go of what I can't control. I'm going to let go. You may think you may be the most important person in my life, and you may have told me that you hate me. Can I let go of that? What does that mean to let go of that? Is it ever one and done? I don't think so. In my life, it's an everyday piece. I have to let go. And when I go, then the shortcoming's not there. So I can't really empower step 7, until I'm really into step 3. I know that's a little bit, it might be a little bit advanced, but it's just life. I mean, how many times you say, oh, God, why am I here? I'm saying for myself, why am I here? You may ask yourself, why am I here? Why don't God just take it away? Whatever God is. And then I have to ask myself, well, why am I not letting it go? You know, if I wanted this man's notebook, and I reached over and he wouldn't give it to me, but he wouldn't let go of it. That's how I am with God sometimes. Yeah, I want you to take it away. But when you take it away, I want to hang on to it. So I found out it's really important just to let go. Just let go. And to do that many, many times. My goodness. There are very few one and dones in my life, in all of my experiences. You know, and I never found out that in my life, feelings, like what kind of hate? Well, you grew up a preacher boy, didn't you? Yeah, and you shouldn't hate, should you? Well, I had lots of hate. I hate now. Well, I mean, you can't have people crap all over you and you don't and say, oh, it's okay. I love Jesus or whatever you think. I don't like to get crapped on. Whoever you are, that's me. And so what I do is I have to work with that hate and that anger and that rage. Yeah, I rage, So do I have to just label it? Oh, that's bad, man. I need to go into treatment and get rid of that. I need to go to treatment so I can work with it, so I can vomit it out. And there's sometimes, like when you're working through some abuse, at least for me with clients and for myself, I've literally vomited out because it hurt that bad. Okay, it's okay. It's just important I don't vomit in your lap. Go to the bathroom, wherever. But I can vomit out all that I feel: hate, hurt, sadness, shame. Oh man, shame. And then I move it from the person who hurt me. Like there's this preacher that I know who molested me. I haven't had a sense of smell since I was 13. That's the last time this person ejaculated in my face. Yeah. And I've tried different modalities, and I'll continue to try. Be nice to. Lots of times I'll smell pumpkin pie when it's not there. Sometimes when I was growing up and college days, we used to do stuff. And I remember we were trying to play a trick on a guy who had a skunk who was throwing in his room. We did. I could pick it up and never smell it. But then I knew I could hang out with people because they could smell me. Is that problem? But I'm saying to you this. I'm saying that this whole context is that, do I hate that person for that experience? Sure. But I can't stay stuck in it. It'll eat me alive. I wouldn't even be here. So I move it from the person to the pain and the issue of being abused, of being disrespected, of being dominated. I move that same energy that I hated this person to hating this principle, this issue, this hurt, this abuse. And I keep working with it. So I take that energy and I move it over here to my own self-empowerment, to love myself, to set boundaries, to assert my truth so I can get it out of my system, and to transform myself so I can love other people and have compassion for others, including the preacher who screwed me over. Now, I don't want to sit around. He's dead now, so I don't have to worry about hanging out with him. But I never did want to hang out with him. I never did want to say, hey, you're okay. You love Jesus. I love Jesus. Let's be good. I don't want any of that crap. I just want to stay away from him. But I recognize that person. To forgive, to me, is to recognize, part of forgiveness is to recognize what that person has in him, I have in me. And that is, I want what I want when I want it. And we all want control. He could control me when I was a kid. I know what it is to seek control. And so I forgive myself for ways I've hurt people, not in like kind. I don't have a desire to mess around kids, ever have. But I have wanted what I wanted when I wanted it, and it hurt people that I loved around me. So I just own that. Forgive myself. Forgive that person so I can get out of prison. You see? And that's the process of working with hate and resentment and shame. You move it, always moving it from person to issue to self-empowerment. Same energy. Mine as a powerful adult is just is to manage it and direct it. You see? I don't have to get rid of it. If I manage it effectively, I become a person with lots of compassion. And that is my spiritual goal is see, I want to be Christ-like. And for me, that means one thing. Does it mean that he's son of God? Whatever people think, that's great. It means treating everybody, first myself, then you, with dignity and respect. Always, always. It doesn't really matter how do you identify yourself? What my job is to, and you say, well, isn't that wonderful? You must be like Mother Teresa, right? No, man, sometimes I'm bad. Sometimes I'm just judgmental, but I work on it. And I know the sourcing. I know how to move my spirit, and it helps me. So therefore, all the shit that I know about my life, I can free fall into it. Right. You ever jump off a cliff into water? We used to take kids when I was a youth pastor way back. We'd take them over to reservoir and they'd jump off 50-foot cliffs all the way down. That's long enough to think about it when you're going down. But there's no control except to make sure you're not looking down because you get a face plant. So like free fall into what? Into your own struggle. What are you believing in? I'm believing that the integrity of my life will bring me right to the center of my heart. That's enough in life. It's all I ever am. It doesn't control results of what I do. You may have had a bad luck. You may get on a good run and make a ton of dough, all kinds of sex, whatever. It just isn't who you are, and you can't control it, no matter how good you are. What I can control, my unconditional confidence, is I can always bring myself right back here to my sense of self. That's enough. It's enough. It makes you really rich, really wealthy, whoever I am, independent of what anybody else thinks about me. However, people want to judge me, legislate toward me, all these craziness that happens. It matters because you're going through that crap. But what really matters is I can bring myself back to who I am. And I choose to want to die that way. I'm just good with who I am. And you know what happens? All the shit that happens in my life, it doesn't dominate me. No way. So I'm saying, I don't know where you're at or what you're really wrestling. I think some you're for addiction, some not, some whatever. But I think what I just shared, if you were to come and see me, I would want you to know that. That's what I want you to know. And it could be helpful. Might not be. It's okay. Can't help everybody.
So how did you figure out who you were? Because in listening to your story, you were full of anger and rage.
Yes, sir.
And today, the energy, speaking of energy, that's not the energy that I get from you.
No. Right.
So how did you get to a place where you, like, how did you figure out who you were?
Yeah,
How did
I'm
you
not Zen, that's for sure. I like to be Zen. It feels good when it is. I have it too. Sometimes it feels good. How did I get there to where I'm at? By embracing my failures. I mean, by weaving meaningfulness throughout my life, looking back. It's a step one. Because for me, the most healing experience of my entire life, all the modalities that I have, I know about and participate in. Nothing is as powerful for healing as step one of the 12 steps. And I'm a 12-step advocate, big time. But I don't think that's the only way people get healthy. You figure your own way. But it was really helpful. So what I did is I pulled apart all these times. Like when I was a kid, I reckoned I could never be enough because this is a quick piece. this kid with boys and all that. I was a baseball player and I could pitch, and I pitched and pitched well and won all my baseball games and pitched a perfect game and on I went. But it was never enough. My uncle told me I wasn't good enough. My brother said the same thing, and I gave up. That I can never. I mean, perfect is perfect. I mean, what more could you do? And I gave up. So in like 2 or 3 years from there, I gave up all baseball. Although my mother was a baseball player, she was a baseball player in the league of her own and all that stuff. She taught me how to play and all that stuff. But I gave it up, and I lost myself because that's all I knew to do and be. And as I look back at that, I began to find out that I didn't have anybody believing in me. And I was told by my teachers, and I was voted least likely to go to college. When I went to college, my advisor said, well, Wells, you're just going to go home and you'll be a 9 to 5. You never be anything more than that. And I thought, well, I wish I was just that, you know? And so what happened? How did I find myself? What happened is that was all shame crap. And so what I did is I stalked shame. I stalk it. So what do I mean by that? I went back to these significant places and I gave back the shame that was given to me. I gave back shame to the church. I went to the church. I brought a cadre of people, dear friends, and my family, my boys. We went back. When my mother passed away, we went back. I gave back the shame to that location. It was helpful. I went to the house where I learned how to be a sex addict. I gave the shame back there. I went to the baseball field where I felt shame, and I gave shame back there. I'm a poet, and I write poetry, and I wrote poetry about each of those experiences. I went to the university where the guy told me, and I had written a letter. He's dead and gone, you know, but I sat in his building that was named after him. They allowed me to because I was an alumni guy, and they figured I'd have dough. So they said, yeah, sure, you can go over here and sit here and talk and whatever. And I gave back shame to him. So I do these things on site. So I think what I say is that how did I become what I became? There's something really, really healing and centering when you can take your rage that's twined with shame and you give back that rage to its source. And not everybody's going to do what I do. What I do is a little bit funky. You know, I've gone to places where there are lots of back when Michael Brown was killed in Ferguson. I know that area real well. I'm from that area. So I went back. I just went back and took his trail from the convenience store down the street down to where the killing took place. And I thought of myself what it would be like to be that person, Michael being shot. I thought what would be like his family. I want to be his mom. I want to be his dad. Standing there, I went there, and the other place I sat was I went over there where I knew I marked out and learned where the police officer was who shot him. What was that like to be a cop who would shoot somebody? Why? I just wanted to relate because when I can relate, it helps me understand human failure, societal failure. I'm a part of all that, but it doesn't have to dominate me because I give back shame. It's a big deal to me. I'll continue doing that the rest of my life because you can't walk through the world and not absorb the energies around you. You know, they're all around you. And when people who are disempowered are dominated, it hurts me. I feel it. And so it's a big deal to me. It's not about me being a therapist. It's about me being a human being. And I'm so grateful that through the years to embrace my failure. And what's that mean? It's to make meaningfulness out of it. That wasn't about me. I was a kid just trying to make, and nobody, I mean, as an adult, nobody cares if you're a good little league baseball player or not. Nobody cares except when you're a little league baseball player, you know? And then what you do is you just carry that shame that you're not enough, carry that all through your life. And so it's been helpful to me to give that back. If you don't give it back, that's the source of my rage. So I just been working on it all my life, giving it back. I still work on it. There's different places in the world. It's private, it's personal. I go to give back shame. Things and places that I believe where domination occurs and is, and I want, because if there's domination, I feel it. You know, I'm not the one being dominated. I mean, look at me. I'm an old geezer who has Social Security and all the bennies that baby boomers get. I got all of that going for me, but I feel the domination of others around me. And that isn't anything about therapy. It isn't anything about, it is about recovery because I'm trying to recover humanity. It's about me living out you say, who are you? Mine is to treat people with dignity and respect, starting first with me, being healthy, selfish that way. But mine is about loving and caring for you, for whoever you is. You live like that, they're going to pull the rug out from you or take advantage of it. I know. I'm not stupid. At the same time, I think it's important. So we went down that path.
Yeah. Now, so speaking of shame, so I just went to this Joe Dispenza retreat, and he talks a lot about energy.
Yeah.
And he talks about belief.
Uh-huh.
And if I believe that I am shame,
Yes.
then that's the energy I put out. And if that's the energy I put out, that's the energy I get back. And so I'm hearing you say that you're giving away shame. And is that the energy you're giving? Like, how does that work? How does it come back to peace and serenity and happiness and feeling good on the inside?
Well, shame tells me I'm a piece of crap. Not that I do crappy things, but I am one. That's exactly who I am in essence. So if I take the shame about my behavior, about anything about me, and I put that on if I put it on behavior and not my sense of self, it frees me up. Now I've got to put something in there, and I have to put positive awareness of who I am. That's where affirmations help. And my world, I treat just addicts a lot. So like, one place people don't get very well is the discipline of cultivating healthy affirmations in your life. It's really important. And it's just like you don't put a seed in the ground and get fruit the next day. You got to put that seed, you got to cultivate it, and you got to work with it day in and day out. So you borrow from aspects of your life, if there are any. If you're not, then you create one where you repeatedly did the next right thing until you got the results you hope for. And you borrow from that in what you tell yourself. It's absolutely necessary. See, the big thing about addiction, it's like, if you talk, it's like, well, I lose myself in addiction because I don't embrace the feelings that are there. I want to numb that out. And this, whatever it is, sex, substance, whatever it is, it works. We wouldn't do it if it didn't work. We do what works. So it works. So, but
The solution.
Yeah. And so what happens is with the feelings, it's important that I embrace those feelings and understand what's there so I can shift out. And what happens is there's times when I have to embrace a feeling and sit with it. Then there's a time I need to act. And that act as if thing, it's not tricking your brain. It's realigning yourself to the universe around you. Because if I think less of myself, that's what the universe will give back to me. And I know people use that to get dough, and if that's what you're into, I suppose it works. But if you want peace, what happens is that's what I get. And so the rage, the anger leaves because I replace it with this concept of peace that comes to me because I'm acting on what I affirmed. I'm going to treat myself with respect. But what if I don't? What if I said I'm going to treat myself with respect and I just call myself an SOB at the same time? I just keep learning to ignore the voice and come and do the action. Like here's where sport helped me. I shoot all kinds of free throws when I was a kid. Well, I always think about what happens is that in sport, these guys are playing and whatever, and they're on the visitors gym and everybody's yelling at them, saying things about their mother that they don't want to hear and stuff like that. Well, if they're going to perform, they got to ignore the voice. It's like The Beautiful Mind. When Nash said he could stand in front of these guys and accept this award because he's learned to ignore the voices. Schizophrenia people who suffer that, they're not the only people who hear voices. I hear voices every day that I need to ignore. I ignore, and and act. It's okay to hear voices. I welcome those voices. They have something to tell me. And once they said their piece, what do? I need to practice acting on what my wise mind that I discover, my wise mind is telling me to do. And I'm not perfect at that. I stumble. But it's not, here's the deal. Is it more important to have never been lost in the woods? If I'm going to go hiking with you, say, I've never been lost in the woods in my life, okay? Or is it more important to have a compass and a map that says if you do get lost, you can get found? That's all I need, is be able to get found. I get lost in my days. I just need to know how to get myself back on center. And so I work with that. And that helps me with my anger and with my rage. I I think anger is a good deal. It's saved my life many a time to set boundaries, healthy boundaries. You see?
And I think about all the different emotions: happiness, joy, love, loneliness,
Yeah.
pain, anger, sadness. And before I was in recovery, if I felt any of those feelings, I would just reach for the drink, the drug,
Yes, yes.
the whatever, Facebook, TikTok. I mean, like whatever, to numb the pain. And what I've learned to do is to actually feel the feelings.
Yeah.
And the feelings don't feel good. And I had Jason Campbell here a few weeks ago, and we talked about it's like you need the negative emotions or perceived negative emotions, and the happy emotions or the good emotions feel better. And it's more important to feel the negative emotions. How quickly can I feel the negative emotions and get back to baseline? How quickly can I get back to baseline?
Yeah.
And then that makes the happy times, the love, the joy, the laughter, makes those feelings feel better.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. I also, I think, just practice finding meaningfulness wherever you are, wherever I'm at. It didn't come to me overnight. If it came overnight, we would have to be having this conversation. But to be able to transfer sadness and to know how I can meet my life's need in a healthy way and not numb out. If I catch myself numbing out, I ask myself, what's going on? Okay, I can bring myself back. It's this velvet steel thing. I write this blog called Velvet Steel. It's a concept that I really believe in, because most of us, he says, an addict, I'm usually gentle where I need to be tough and tough where I need to be gentle. Get it all mixed up. So it's important that I take time to be caring and loving and supportive. At the same time, there's got to be a part of me that's willing to walk to hell and back to do the next right thing. So it says a combination, and it's an art form. It's not like, hey, do this, step 1, 2, 3, and everything's good. No, recovery's an art form. And you're the artist of your own life. I am too.
So you've worked with people across the spectrum, from everyday individuals to celebrities and billionaires.
Yeah, right.
In your experience, what struggles do they all have in common?
Finding themselves. It's a funny thing. Like celebrity folk. You do realize, don't you? That's a suggestive thing. I don't know what you really realize, but I'm making the statement. Every person in this room is a celebrity. Is ask the people who love you. If you don't have anybody loved, ask the person right next to you, because they'll love you for now. We're celebrities. My kids are counting on me. I have friends who are counting on me. So I'm a celebrity. So the celebrity thing, when you get lost in that stuff, they just don't know who they are. They lost who they are. If they're lost in the context of I'm famous, so I think they've lost themselves if they come to me and they're kind of in. You see, sometimes celebrities, they complain about autographs, but then they complain when people don't ask for an autograph. It's kind of crazy, but that's how it is. But I think finding yourself. I know this one person who has more money than some countries do. It's insane, I think, but it's real. And I've noticed how when he gained a lot of money during COVID, he gained a lot more money. He already had a lot of money. He had a lot more money. He's more and more fearful. More and more fearful. And then I know folks who don't have anything. I mean, whether they're homeless where I live, right behind, or people who I know in other countries, and they don't have any of the concerns this man has. It's kind of weird. I tell you, don't you realize even if the stock market went to hell and they pulled the rug out from it, you're still good. You're good. What are you nervous about? You know, it's just that he lost himself. And if you lose yourself, then who are you? I mean, what have you really gained? It's okay to have dough. I mean, don't we all want more? Yeah, we all want more dough. There's nothing wrong with that. But man, to lose yourself. So I think that's what I would say. People lose themselves in their addictions. That's the common theme. And that's what I help people find is themselves.
So, speaking of early childhood trauma, even trauma would label as mild.
Yes. Uh-huh.
How does that set the stage for intimacy issues later on in life?
Yeah. Well, the tendency in our lives is that we play out our needs that were left unmet into the relationships we try to create in the here and now. So, Søren Kierkegaard is a theologian and a philosopher. He says, well, life's meant to be lived forward, but it can only be understood backwards. So I look backwards to understand where I am in my relationship right now. So there are times in my wife, and I'll depend upon her as if if I give you an example, you'd think, well, this is just a mother issue Ken has. Right. I don't mean to, but I'm treating her as if she's my mom. I want her to meet a need that I never got met when I was a kid. So we play those things out. And what's important is we just recognize it. It's not like I get healed. I mean, I get neither healed if I'm no longer going to seek out people who will fill me up, that old codependency, that word's kind of controversial because even when it wasn't so controversial, it's kind of hard to explain, I bet it's controversial now. People don't want to be called codependent. But the reality is like you have in a relationship, you have, the adage is 1/4. And if I have one half and one half, put them together, we got a whole, right? No, one half times one half is a fourth. And the reason is because I'm pulling out of you what I hope you'll fill up in me, but it doesn't work that way. It's an inside job. So that's what happens. So, like we have all these childhood developmental needs, Tim, that we need to meet. And when they're not met, then we're like a chunk of cheese with holes, and we find ourselves reaching outside of ourselves to try to fill that hole up. And one of the holes that's real common for if we had time to listen to sacred story in this room would be I learned that I didn't matter. And I learned that it didn't matter, not because my mom and dad didn't love me, if they loved me. I learned it didn't matter because mother, father didn't spend sufficient amounts of time with me on my terms, not theirs. It's a big deal. I mean, little kids don't say, hey, I think my mom and dad need to get some counseling to kind of work some things out here. No, they just make it up about themselves. There must be something about me that really isn't okay. And so they try to figure out, we all do, try to figure out what do I need to do to get my mom and dad's attention? So we become performance people. Maybe we are really good at sport or school or church or this or that. Or maybe we just go around giving the finger to everybody because that's how we get attention. We can do that too. See? But desperately we're looking for that. And then when we go up in our adulthood, then we're looking for someone who'll finally get it. Maybe this person will finally know I'm worthwhile. And if I have this person in my life, then I'll be okay. That kind of happens.
What would you say to the person listening who feels deep shame or thinks their situation is hopeless?
Well, first, I wouldn't want to say anything. I'd want to just listen and hear it all out. And I'd want to relate to what they're telling me. And then when I didn't relate, I want to tell them, I don't relate to that one. Just we have an honest meeting of connection. Because if you tell me, if I'm talking about shame, man, that's tender. That's deep. That's going real deep. And then I'm going to give you a real quick fix when you know better than that. And honestly, you just feel like I didn't hear you. So I think it's really important just to hear it. what I think is shame is what I would want to help them learn and see is that shame's an experience that's neither good or bad. It's an energy, and we have a responsibility to manage it. And when you're a kid or at some vulnerable time in your life, you were triggered deep and big. And so the good part of shame reminds me, in a lighthearted way, it reminds me to put my clothes on and don't walk around in public naked. That's helpful, you know, or what? Okay. So I work with that. Shame that eats at my soul. I would want them to understand it's like battery acid. If you leave the acid in the battery, it'll help you start your car. Shame can be helpful if you put it on behavior, not person. You see, if I do something to hurt you, if I could use you as an example, hurt you. If I keep it on myself, oh, why would you do that? You're really a piece of crap for treating that guy that way. I just wring myself out. That's not helpful. But if I put it on the behavior, and if I can help you learn to do that, then what I look at is I see how hurtful that is to you and how embarrassing, how belittling, how whatever. And then I know in my heart that's not who I am. And it can help me transform my shame into compassion and empathy. And I'd want you to learn that. I want to teach myself that. That makes sense?
Yep.
That's it's simple, but it's you guys already know in
Easy.
recovery. So simple and easy don't go together, right?
Right.
Simple and hard. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're like 55 minutes in. I want to open it up for questions to you guys. Do you guys have any questions for Ken? Anything that you'd like to know? Anything you want him to expand on? Okay. What's the most important lesson recovery has taught you about yourself?
It's taught me how to love myself and that it's okay to be human.
Hmm.
And that's a lot of freedom. Just to love me, even though, like, I mean, whatever you identify as funky clothes or not, whatever that is, it's a wide range. It's personalized. Like my wife and my kids always complain about me wearing, like I change clothes before I come over because I didn't know what kind of get up you guys would accept or whatever. I wear what I wear because I want to wear it, period.
Hmm.
Shoes in particular. And what I tell you is that I had the freedom just to be me, just to be me. That's sacred. That's sacred. I want you to be you. You, whatever you are, let out here express that. And I think recovery can help you get there.
Yeah, I mean, I know I struggled to love myself especially early on or before recovery. I hated myself.
Yeah.
And it was a journey. Can anybody relate to not loving yourself? Yeah. We all can. I mean, and it's a journey. It's a process. And being in recovery and doing all the things, whether it's treatment, prayer, meditation, journaling, yoga, exercise, breath work, eating good food, getting enough sleep. It's all part of the journey. Yeah. If you could give one piece of advice to clients here at the center, working through addiction, trauma, intimacy issues, what would it be?
I don't have a quick response, but there is a thought that came to my mind. Is to stay the course. I don't pretend to know all or anything about what's happening for you today. But maybe you want to quit. Maybe you want to think, I go work. Just stay the course and trust the universe to align with your power and those that are around you to help you find healing. Stay the course. Don't back off. Hang in there. That's what I really want to say. There are probably more profound things to say, but God, man, if I just stayed the course, that saved my ass so many times. So many times. Because I didn't find any meaningfulness in what they're doing. And I'm angry about it. I didn't like it. And I just said, okay, I know what it's like just to go ahead and do it anyway. And I had a piss poor attitude, but it got better because I stayed the course.
We got a question.
Would you mind repeating that statement about something pertaining to lack of attention from your parents, but it wasn't on our time. It was on their. Could you explain that a little better? Because that really hit me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yes, it would take some talk. So I'd say is that we have all these developmental needs first. Like I need a predictable environment. Many of us didn't have that. I certainly didn't. It was chaos. We need to know that we need shelter. We need food, education, whatever. Okay. I need that kind of touch and mirroring. Okay. But I also need to know that I matter. And so that's the point you're asking. So what I'd say to you, ma'am, is this: how kids know they matter is when mom and dad spend sufficient amounts of time with them, that child, on that child's terms, not mom and dad's. So, like I'm a workaholic. So I'd bring my kids to work with me. Well, it's not like it didn't count or matter because it was important, but it's the time I spent with my boys was mostly on their time or on my time rather, not theirs. See, like now my wife, my mom and dad didn't spend time with me. And so I have four grandkids and they're little guys. And I have a hard time being with them except in some kind of sport. Well, they don't even like sport. So I need to let that go, you know. So spending time on their term. My wife is excellent with it. My boys are really good with those kids. Not perfect, but they're good, you know. So I see how important it is to spend time with them. And you see, really what it's about. It's not trying to say mom and dad are good or bad. It's just like I need sufficient time so they know who they are, what they do matters. Does that make sense?
Yes, but as the youngest adult, see, how do you get over that?
Well,
Not like in a nutshell, but
Yeah,
how does
well,
one deal with
here's
that?
kind of what you get. What we sometimes don't underscore is important. What's important is not to overlook or underestimate the resilience of a child. I mean, we're here today because we're resilient. We have the capacity to bounce back. So as an adult, what happens is I have to realize I do have resilience that I can rely upon. That's one thing. The other thing is that I can grieve what should have been, could have been, and never was. And I can't go back and fill in those holes. I can go back and make meaningfulness out of those holes in my life. Does that make sense?
How so? I don't mean to get so complicated, but I guess it's a part of how do you if you can recommend how to let go of that.
Well,
I mean, I'm a grown adult now.
right. I have to grieve it.
Okay.
I have to grieving is so many different ways to grieve. It's sad. And in our country, we don't talk much about grieving. No, we don't really know how to grieve. But grieving is messy. Grieving is I'm sad, I'm mad, I'm melancholy, I'm indifferent. I have all these things and feelings. So I need to express it. I need to have a source that will hear me out. I need to give back the shame because if I don't think I matter and I'm not enough, what happens is that I'm carrying somebody's shame. So I need to give that back to them because I'm an unrepeatable miracle of the world, of the universe. Uh, Mom and dad just missed it there. Didn't make them monsters. Now, maybe some of our parents were monsters, if monster means hurtful, abusive, egregious behavior. But all I'm doing is I'm giving back the shame that they gave to me, that likely the reason they weren't there because their parents weren't there for them. And in that context, they did the best they could. But I don't believe that parents just do the best they could. I'm a parent. I did the best I could, but we're talking the best you could. That's 24/7, 365 for 18 plus years. Who does that? I've never always did the best I could, you see? So I can forgive them for that because they're human. And so what that means is when the pain comes up that I don't matter, I can recognize, oh, I understand. That's a message I got as a kid, but I gave that back to mom and dad. And I'm going to embrace the reality that I do matter, that I'm worthy of love. Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you.
So embracing it and grieving it and all of those things, what do we do with the fact that it's impacted our self-worth and our self-esteem as adults? I mean, I know that we've already kind of covered, some of that, but I mean, what do we do with that part? Because we can forgive it and we can let go, right? Is what you're saying, which I completely agree with. But it's still that self-esteem aspect is still there, just and or lack thereof, rather.
Well, I think the let going and forgiving is an ongoing process. I don't think it's a one and done. I think I have to, just to speak to that part of your statement, I think that's something I do the rest of my days, is to forgive that which I didn't receive or ways I got hurt. And I do that, honestly, I do that daily in my life. Okay. The part that you're leaning into asking is about self-esteem. I think it's a spiritual journey, not religious. Could be. Some people religious are very spiritual, of course, but spiritual journey in the context of being able to recognize my being and practice that, and to reinforce my worthiness in belief, reinforced by affirmations. Personally, Tim mentioned Joe Dispenza. I listened to a lot of him. I listened to Alan Watts. A lot of people I listen to are dead, but they still help me, Wayne Dyer. Some of it's not just, see, if you listen to me long enough, probably already, you can say, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. I say the same thing about everybody I've ever listened to, because I don't agree with everybody on anything, you know? But I pull out things that are really helpful, and I incorporate those beliefs that there's no arrival. It's being right where you are in the presence and celebrating who I am in this present moment. And when the voices come to me to say, you're just bullshitting yourself, that's not who you are. This is who you are, and this and that. And off it goes like a machine gun fire. I practice not listening to that voice. I practice cocooning myself with care and support in helpful environments. And, sometimes I need to pull out of my everyday everyday life, and seclude myself to build that, because I've taken a shame hit, what have you. But as I do that and lean into that and act as if I'm going to do what I need to do, I'm not surrendering. I know what I need to do in this moment of time. It doesn't have to feel good. I'm going to do it because it's right. And I know I am what I am. You build muscle there. It's spiritual, mental muscle, whatever you say. I mean, somebody could say it better. But does that make sense to you?
It does. Thank you.
And, it's not very, this healing thing, it's not very spectacular. It's like, I wrote this little book called Dare to Be Average. It's finding brilliance in the commonplace. We all share that space. And I think that's where you can find what you're talking about.
Okay. Look at that. Thank you.
Is there anything I missed?
Oh my.
Anything else you want to talk about?
Well, we haven't even begun to talk about who's going to win the Super Bowl. We haven't talked about any of that stuff yet, so we could. I'm happy to be with it. I thank you for putting up with this it seemed like you said 55 minutes a few minutes ago. It's over an hour, so thank you. You're kind.
Where can people find you? How can they connect with you if they want to learn more about you or more about your work, your blog, your book?
Well,
books.
My book, in particular, a book I wrote, it's on Amazon. My blog, I write through Genius Recovery Network. And I have, I'm not really business. I don't have a lot of business sense to myself, because I should have this little thing, this little spiel I just give to you. I don't have any spiel. But I'll tell you what you can have is, if you want to, my blog is Genius Recovery Network. And if you would send to me, you send me an email at my email. You just have to take it down. It's because I don't have a card or what. It's kwell666@gmail.com. And people who are religious think I'm the Antichrist, but they get off on these numbers. 666 means the Antichrist. If you didn't know that, I didn't particularly care about that. It's just a number that when I did my email, since I don't email myself, I wanted something I wouldn't forget. So I have that kwells666@gmail.com. And I will take your email and send it to Joe, and Joe Polish is a person who does Genius Recovery Network. And you have my blog. My blog is it's a free deal. It's Tuesdays and Fridays. Every Tuesday and Friday of every week comes out.
Awesome. Give it up for Ken Wells. Yeah, thanks for listening, and thanks for your time, Ken.
Hey, enjoyed every bit of it.
Yeah, awesome.
Thanks so much for listening to I Love Being Sober. I hope you got something valuable from today's episode. And if you're looking for more resources on recovery, mental health, or any of the therapies we talk about, head over to camelbackrecovery.com. You can find more episodes, blog posts, and ways to connect. Until next time, take care of yourself, keep growing, and keep living a kick-ass sober life.